The phone rang 3 times before a voice answered, cold, sharp, and dangerous. "Who is this?" The man's tone could freeze blood. "How did you get this number?" Shyra's hands trembled so violently she nearly dropped her phone. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Your son. He just collapsed. Right here on the street. He's not getting up." Silence. Then, "What did you say?" "Your son," Shyra repeated, her voice cracking. She looked down at the young man lying on the concrete, his expensive suit now dusty, his face pale. "His bracelet says to call this number. Please, he needs help." "Where are you?" The voice had changed, still commanding but now laced with something else. Fear maybe, or fury. "Tell me exactly where you are." Shyra rattled off the street corner, her words tumbling over each other. Around her, people walked past with their phones out, filming but not helping. Nobody wanted to get involved. She was the only one kneeling beside this stranger, the only one who'd bothered to check if he was breathing. "Listen to me very carefully," the voice said. "You stay with my son, you don't leave him. You don't let anyone take him. Do you understand?" Yes, but if you leave him, I will find you. Do you understand?" Shyra's throat went dry. "Yes." The line went dead. She stared at her phone, then at the man on the ground. What had she gotten herself into? His chest rose and fell steadily, but his eyes remained closed. She'd managed to catch his head before it hit the pavement, her reflexes faster than her fear. Now she sat beside him, her flower cart abandoned a few feet away. "Hey," she said softly, touching his shoulder. "Can you hear me? Help is coming." His eyelids fluttered. "Water," he managed. Shyra grabbed her water bottle and carefully helped him take small sips. He was probably in his mid-20s, with dark hair and features that would have been handsome if they weren't twisted in pain. His watch alone probably cost more than she made in a year. "What's your name?" she asked, trying to keep him conscious. "Damine," he breathed. "My medication, I think, wrong dosage." "It's okay, your father's coming." His eyes opened wider at that, and she saw genuine fear flash across his face. "My father." Before she could answer, the sound of engines roared down the street. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt, surrounding them so quickly that Shyra barely had time to process what was happening. Car doors flew open. Men in dark suits emerged, and every single one of them had their hands inside their jackets, near weapons, she realized with a jolt of terror. The crowd that had been filming suddenly scattered. Then he stepped out. The man from the phone call had to be Damine's father, mid-40s tall, with gray-streaked dark hair and eyes that could cut glass. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. Power radiated from him like heat from asphalt. This wasn't just any father. This was someone important, someone dangerous. Vincent Russo scanned the scene with those predator eyes, and when his gaze landed on his son lying on the ground with Shyra kneeling beside him, something in his expression cracked, just for a second. "Move aside," one of the suited men barked at Shyra, reaching for Damine. "Wait," Damine said weakly, his hand catching Shyra's wrist. "She saved me, caught my head, she stayed." Vincent's eyes fixed on Shyra. She felt pinned in place, like a butterfly under glass. He walked toward them with measured steps, and she could feel every heartbeat pounding in her ears. "You called me," Vincent said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes," Shyra managed. "His bracelet had the number." "And you stayed." "You told me to." A hint of something, surprise maybe, flickered across Vincent's face. "Most people would have run the moment they heard my voice." Shyra didn't know what to say to that. She was still trying to understand who she was dealing with. The way everyone had scattered, the armed men, the fear in Damine's eyes when she'd mentioned his father, none of it pointed to anything good. "Get the car ready," Vincent ordered. "We're taking him to Dr. Castellano, now." 2 men carefully lifted Damine. He tried to look back at Shyra, but they were already carrying him toward the middle SUV. Vincent remained, studying her with an intensity that made her want to disappear. "What's your name?" he asked. "Shyra." "Shyra," he tested the name. "You sell flowers." She glanced at her cart, flowers wilting in the afternoon heat. "Yes." "How much do you make weekly?" The question caught her off guard. "I don't, that's not really." "Answer the question." "Maybe $200 on a good week." She lifted her chin, trying not to feel ashamed. "It's honest work." Vincent pulled out his wallet. "No," Shyra said quickly, taking a step back. Vincent paused, his hand halfway to removing a stack of bills. "No. I don't want your money." For a long moment, Vincent just stared at her. Then he actually laughed, a short, harsh sound. "Everyone wants my money. I just wanted to help your son, that's all." "Nobody just helps in this city." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "What do you really want? A job, protection, name it." Shyra felt her temper flare despite her fear. "I want to go back to selling my flowers. I want to forget this ever happened. Can I do that?" One of the suited men, a large man with a scar across his cheek, muttered something to Vincent. She caught the words liability and knows too much. Vincent held up a hand, silencing him. "You can't forget this happened. Neither can I. My son would have cracked his skull on that concrete if you hadn't moved fast. That means you're owed a debt. I always pay my debts." "Then consider it paid," Shyra said. "I'm glad he's okay, that's enough." She turned to gather her flowers, her hands still shaking. She wanted to leave before these dangerous men changed their minds about letting her walk away. But Vincent's voice stopped her. "I own a restaurant 2 blocks from here. Lucia's. You show up Monday morning, there's a hostess position waiting. Good pay, safe environment. Better than standing in the heat selling flowers that die in a day." It sounded like an offer, but his tone made it clear it wasn't really optional. Shyra took a deep breath. "Thank you, but no thank you. I like my flowers." She started pushing her cart down the street, half expecting one of those suited men to stop her. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. But no one followed. When she finally dared to glance back, the SUVs were gone, and only a few confused pedestrians remained, wondering what they'd just witnessed. That night in her tiny studio apartment, Shyra couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the encounter, those cold eyes, the guns she'd sensed beneath those suits, the way everyone had scattered. She'd saved someone's life today. But she had a sinking feeling it might have been the biggest mistake she'd ever made. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. Her stomach dropped. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello?" "Shyra." It was a different voice, younger, warmer, Damon's voice. "I'm sorry if I scared you. I got your number from your business card, the one on your flower cart." "Oh," she relaxed slightly. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, thanks to you." He paused. "My father can be intense. I'm sorry if he frightened you." "Who is he?" Shyra asked quietly. "Who are you?" Silence stretched between them. "It's probably better if you don't know," Damon finally said. "But I wanted to thank you, properly. Can I buy you coffee, tomorrow maybe?" Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to stay away from this world of black SUVs and hidden guns. But something in his voice, a loneliness, maybe, or a genuine warmth, made her hesitate. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said softly. "Just coffee, in public, somewhere you choose. I promise I'm not like my father." "That's what worries me," Shyra admitted. "The fact that you have to promise that." He laughed, and it was nothing like Vincent's harsh bark. It was real, a little sad. "Fair point. Look, you saved my life today. The least I can do is buy you a decent cup of coffee and explain why I carry that medical alert bracelet. No pressure. If you say no, I'll respect that." Shyra looked around her small apartment, at the sketches pinned to her walls, fashion designs she'd worked on after her flower-selling days ended, dreams that felt impossibly far away. This man, whoever he was, came from a world of money and power, a world that could destroy her. "There's a cafe on Maple Street," she heard herself say. "Rosa's, tomorrow at 2. "I'll be there." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Thank you, Shyra, really." After he hung up, she sat on her bed, wondering if she'd just made her second big mistake in one day. The next afternoon, Shyra almost didn't go. She changed her outfit 3 times, settling on a simple sundress, the nicest thing she owned. When she arrived at Rosa's, Damon was already there, sitting at a corner table in jeans and a plain t-shirt. Without the expensive suit, he looked different, normal, almost vulnerable. "You came," he said, standing up. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either," Shyra admitted, sliding into the seat across from him. He'd already ordered a cappuccino for himself, and she noticed he'd waited to order for her. Thoughtful. They made small talk while they waited for her coffee, and Shyra found herself relaxing despite her reservations. Damon was easy to talk to. He asked about her flowers, seemed genuinely interested in her sketches when she mentioned them. "You're an artist," he said. "That's amazing." "I sell flowers," she corrected. "The art is just wishful thinking." "My mother used to say that wishful thinking is just the beginning of making something real." His expression darkened for a moment. "She died 3 years ago." "I'm sorry." "She would have liked you," Damon smiled sadly. "She always said the best people are the ones who help without expecting anything back. There aren't many like that in my world." "What is your world exactly?" Shyra asked carefully. Damon took a long sip of his coffee, clearly debating how much to tell her. "My father, he's a businessman, but not the kind you'd find in a normal office building. He has power, influence, and a lot of people who owe him favors or fear him, usually both." "And you?" "I'm supposed to take over the family business someday." The way he said it made it sound like a prison sentence. "But that's not what I want. I want something different, something clean." Shyra understood that feeling, wanting to be more than your circumstances allowed. "Why did you collapse yesterday?" she asked gently. "You mentioned medication." Damon's hand went unconsciously to his chest. "I have a heart condition, arrhythmia. Usually it's controlled with medication, but someone made a mistake with my prescription. Wrong dosage. It happens." But the way he said it made Shyra wonder if it had been an accident at all. "That sounds terrifying." "Not as terrifying as thinking I was going to die on some random street corner," Damon said with a slight smile. "And then I opened my eyes and saw an angel leaning over me." Shyra felt her cheeks warm. "I'm not an angel, I just did what anyone should do." "But most people didn't, they just filmed." His voice hardened. "You were the only one who helped, that means something." They talked for 2 hours. Damon told her about growing up in a world of private schools and armed guards, of never knowing who genuinely liked him versus who wanted access to his father. Shyra told him about her parents dying when she was 16, about working her way through the system, about the flower cart being her path to independence. "You're braver than you think," Damon said as they finally prepared to leave. "Living on your own terms, building something from nothing, that takes real courage." "Says the man who wants to escape a Mafia empire," Shyra said, then froze. "Sorry, I shouldn't have." "It's okay," Damon didn't deny it. "You're smart, you figured it out." "I Googled your father's name last night," she admitted. "Vincent Russo, the articles were concerning." "And yet you still came to meet me." "I guess I'm curious, or stupid, haven't decided which yet." Damon laughed. "Can I see you again?" Shyra knew she should say no, but when she looked at him, really looked at him, she didn't see a criminal or a threat. She saw someone as trapped as she was, just in a different kind of cage. "Maybe," she said, "but not if your father's watching." "He's always watching." Damon's smile faded. "But I don't care. Some things are worth the risk." Over the next 2 weeks, Damon became a regular at Shyra's flower cart. He'd show up in the afternoons, help her arrange bouquets, talk to customers. At first, she worried about people recognizing him, but in jeans and a casual shirt, he blended in. No one suspected the guy selling roses was the son of the city's most notorious crime boss. "You're actually good at this," Shyra said one day, watching him create a surprisingly beautiful arrangement. "My mother taught me," Damon said quietly. "Before she got sick, she loved flowers, said they were proof that beautiful things could grow anywhere, even in concrete." Shyra felt her heart twist. Every day she learned more about him, his love of art, his hatred of violence, his desperate desire for a normal life. And every day she fell a little more for this man who was supposed to be dangerous but was actually one of the gentlest people she'd ever met. They were closing up the cart one evening when Damon took her hand. "Shyra, I need to tell you something." Her heart raced. "Okay. I'm falling for you, hard. And I know this is complicated and probably stupid and definitely dangerous for you, but I can't keep pretending I'm just here for the flowers." She stared at their intertwined hands. "Your father knows I've been seeing you. He has people watching me at all times, but he hasn't stopped me, which is surprising, actually." "Maybe he's planning something," Shyra said nervously. "Or maybe he sees what I see." Damon stepped closer. "Someone genuine, someone who doesn't want anything from us except honesty. That's rare in our world, precious even." "I'm scared," Shyra whispered. "So am I," Damon touched her cheek gently. "But I'm more scared of never knowing what this could be." When he kissed her, soft and careful, Shyra felt like she was stepping off a cliff. But instead of falling, she felt like she might actually fly. 3 blocks away, in a black sedan, Vincent Russo watched through binoculars. His right-hand man, Marcus, sat in the driver's seat. "Should I separate them?" Marcus asked. "The girl could be a problem." Vincent was silent for a long moment. He'd had his people investigate Shyra thoroughly. No criminal record, no connections to rival families, no hidden agenda. Just a girl who'd saved his son without expecting anything in return. She made Damon smile, really smile, for the first time since his mother's death. "No," Vincent finally said, "let them be. Boss, she could be a liability if our enemies find out. Then we protect her." Vincent lowered the binoculars. "My son is happy. When was the last time you saw him happy, Marcus?" Marcus had no answer. "That girl reminded me of someone," Vincent continued quietly. "My wife. Same kind of stubborn independence. Same refusal to be bought or intimidated. Maybe that's what Damon needs. Someone who sees him, not just my power." "You're going soft," Marcus muttered. Vincent's expression hardened. "Careful, I'm allowing this, but I'm not soft. If the girl proves to be a threat, I'll handle it. But for now, she's earned my respect. That's more than most people can say." He told Marcus to drive away, but Vincent couldn't shake the feeling that trouble was coming. In his world, happiness was always temporary, and his enemies were always watching. 2 days later, Vincent's instincts proved correct. Shyra was arranging sunflowers when a sleek Mercedes pulled up. The man who emerged wore an expensive suit and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. 2 bodyguards flanked him. "You must be Shyra," the man said in a heavy Russian accent. "I am Dmitry Volkov. I believe you know my friend Vincent Russo's son." Every alarm bell in Shyra's head went off. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play games, girl." Dmitri's smile vanished. "You've been seen with Damon Russo multiple times. That makes you interesting to me." One of the bodyguards moved closer, and Shyra instinctively stepped back. "I just sell flowers," Shyra said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I don't know anything about anyone's business." "But you do know Damon." Dmitri pulled out his phone, showing her photos, her and Damon at Rosa's cafe, walking down the street, laughing together. Her blood ran cold. "The Russos have many enemies. It would be unfortunate if you got caught in the middle of something dangerous." "Is that a threat?" "A warning." Dmitri pocketed his phone. "Vincent Russo is not a good man. His son will never escape that world, and anyone close to them becomes a target. I suggest you distance yourself before you get hurt." He left as smoothly as he'd arrived, but the threat lingered like smoke. Shyra's hands shook as she tried to continue working. She should have listened to her instincts. She should have stayed away from Damon. Now she was on the radar of dangerous people, plural. Her phone buzzed. "Damon. Can I see you tonight?" His text read. "There's something I want to show you." Shyra almost said no. The smart thing would be to end this now before it got worse. But when she thought about never seeing Damon again, her chest ached. "Where?" she typed back. That evening, Damon took her to a rooftop garden she'd never known existed. It was beautiful, string lights, flowering vines, a view of the city that took her breath away. "How did you find this place?" she asked. "My mother used to bring me here when I was little." Damon led her to a bench overlooking the skyline. "It's one of the few places I can think clearly, away from my father's world." Shyra knew she needed to tell him about Dimitri's visit, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she sat beside him, memorizing the moment, the warm evening air, the soft lights, the way he looked at her like she was something precious. "I want to leave," Damon said suddenly. "The family business, the violence, all of it. I've been thinking about it for years, but I never had a reason strong enough. Now I do." "Damon, you make me want to be better, to build something real, something clean." He turned to face her fully. "I know this is fast. I know it's crazy, but I'm falling in love with you, Shyra, and I think you might be falling for me too." She was, God help her, she was. "A man came to see me today," Shyra said quietly. "Dmitry Volkov. He showed me pictures of us. He warned me to stay away from you." Damon's expression darkened. "Did he threaten you?" "Not directly, but the message was clear." She took his hand. "Your father's world is dangerous. I knew that intellectually, but today it became real. These aren't abstract concepts. These are people with guns and no conscience." "I'll talk to my father. He'll make sure Volkov stays away from you." "That's not the point." Shyra's voice cracked. "The point is that as long as you're connected to that world, I'm a target. Anyone you care about becomes a target. Is that the life you want? Is that the life you want for me?" Damon pulled her into his arms. "No, which is why I'm going to leave, for real this time. I'll talk to my father, make him understand. There has to be a way out. Men like your father don't let their sons just walk away." "Then I'll find a way." Damon kissed her forehead. "You're worth fighting for." But even as he said it, Shyra felt the weight of reality crushing down on them. Love wasn't enough when you were fighting against an empire built on violence and loyalty. Some cages had no keys. The next morning, Damon met with his father in Vincent's office, a room that had seen countless deals made and broken. Vincent sat behind his massive desk, reading reports, his reading glasses making him look almost scholarly. But Damon knew better. His father was a predator, always calculating. "You wanted to talk," Vincent said without looking up. "Talk." "I want out," Damon said, "completely out of the business." Now Vincent looked up. "Because of the girl." "Because of me, but yes, Shyra is part of it. She makes me want a different life, a better one." "Better?" Vincent removed his glasses slowly. "You think selling flowers is better than the empire I've built? The empire that's kept you safe, fed, educated." "An empire built on blood," Damon shot back. "How many people have died for your business, father? How many lives ruined?" "Every single one deserved it." Vincent's voice went cold. "I've protected this family. I've protected you. And now you want to throw it all away for some girl you've known for 2 weeks. I want to throw it away for myself. Shyra just helped me see that it's possible." Vincent stood, walking to the window overlooking the city. "The Volkovs approached her yesterday. Did she tell you that?" "Yes." "And it didn't scare her away? Interesting." Vincent turned back. "She's either brave or foolish. I haven't decided which." "She's brave," Damon said firmly. and she deserves better than being caught in the middle of our family's wars. So protect her, take her somewhere safe, keep her away from the business, but don't throw away your birthright. It's not a birthright, it's a curse. Damon stood too, facing his father. Mom hated what you did. She died hating it. Do you remember what she said at the end? That the money and power meant nothing if it cost you your soul. Vincent's jaw tightened. Don't use your mother against me. Then don't use the family business against me. Let me go. Let me build something legitimate. I can still be your son without being your successor. The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of unspoken tension. Finally, Vincent spoke. If I let you go, you become vulnerable. My enemies will see it as weakness. They'll target you to get to me. Then make them understand I'm out, that I'm not a part of this anymore. It doesn't work that way. Vincent's voice held genuine regret. You're my son. That will always make you a target. The only question is whether you're protected or exposed. Damon felt his hope crumbling. So I'm a prisoner, forever. You're my son, forever. Vincent returned to his desk. But I'll make you a deal. Build something legitimate. Show me you can succeed without my connections, my money, my influence. If you can prove you're capable of standing on your own, we'll talk about a real separation. It wasn't freedom, but it was something. How long? A year. 1 year to build a legitimate business that turns a profit. If you succeed, I'll publicly distance myself from you. You'll still be my son, but not my heir. It's the best I can offer. Damon nodded slowly. And Shyra? I'll make sure Volkov understands she's under my protection. He won't touch her. Vincent's expression softened slightly. She saved your life, Damon. I don't forget debts. As long as she's with you, she's family, and I protect family. It wasn't perfect, but it was more than Damon had expected. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The real work starts now. Batch 5, words 40015000. When Damon told Shyra about the deal that evening, she felt torn between hope and fear. 1 year to build a legitimate business. 1 year to prove they could make it work. What kind of business? She asked. They were in her apartment, tiny but cozy, with her sketches covering every available wall. I don't know yet. Damon looked at her drawings, really studied them. These are incredible, Shyra. You're talented. They're just doodles. No, they're not. He pointed to a sketch of a dress, flowing fabric, intricate details, bold lines. This is fashion design, real fashion design. Have you ever thought about actually making these? Shyra laughed bitterly. With what money, what connections? I can barely afford fabric scraps. But Damon's eyes were bright with possibility. What if we did it together? You design, I handle the business side. We could start small, custom pieces made to order, build a brand. That's crazy. So is falling for you, but here we are. Damon grinned. Think about it. A legitimate fashion business. Your designs, my determination, neither of our father's money or influence, just us building something real. Shyra wanted to believe it was possible, but doubt gnawed at her. Your father said he'd protect me from the Volkovs, but for how long? What happens when the next threat comes, or the one after that? Then we deal with it together. Damon took her hands. I'm not naive, Shyra. I know this won't be easy, but I'd rather spend 1 year trying to build something real with you than a lifetime living safely in my father's shadow. Looking into his eyes, Shyra saw the same desperate hope she felt. They were both trying to escape their circumstances, both reaching for something better. Maybe that was enough. Okay, she said, let's try. They started planning immediately. Shyra would keep her flower cart during the day for steady income while designing at night. Damon would research business licenses, find affordable production partners, build a website. They'd launch with a small collection, 10 pieces, each one showcasing Shyra's unique vision. The next 3 months were a blur of work and stolen moments. Damon proved to be better at business than Shyra expected. He understood marketing, knew how to network without using his father's name, had a genuine eye for what would sell. Together, they made a good team. "We need a name," Damon said one night, surrounded by fabric samples and sketches. Shyra thought for a moment. "Bloom, simple, but it represents growth, starting from nothing and becoming something beautiful." "Bloom," Damon repeated, smiling. "I love it." Vincent kept his distance but watched from afar. True to his word, he'd made it clear to the Volkovs and other families that Shyra was protected. No one bothered her flower cart. No one threatened her. But Shyra could feel the invisible shield around her, and it was both comforting and unnerving. One evening, Vincent showed up at her apartment unannounced. Shyra opened the door to find the Mafia boss standing in her hallway, looking absurdly out of place in his expensive suit. "Mr. Russo," she said, trying to hide her surprise, "Damon's not here." "I know, I came to talk to you," he gestured to her apartment. "May I?" Shyra's instinct was to refuse, but you didn't say no to Vincent Russo. She let him in, acutely aware of how shabby her home must look to someone accustomed to luxury. Vincent looked around, at the sketches on the walls, the fabric samples on the table, the sewing machine in the corner. "You're working hard." "We both are." "I know," he turned to face her. "I've had people tracking your progress. The website is good. The designs are better. You have real talent." "Thank you." Shyra wasn't sure where this was going. "My son is happier than I've seen him in years. That's because of you." Vincent's expression was unreadable. "But happiness makes people careless. It makes them vulnerable." "Is this another warning?" "It's a promise." Vincent stepped closer, and Shyra fought the urge to back away. "I will protect you as long as you're with my son. But if you hurt him, if you use him, betray him, or break his heart for your own gain, then no amount of distance will keep you safe from me. Do you understand?" Shyra met his eyes directly. "I understand, but you should understand something too, Mr. Russo. I love your son. Not his name, not his connections, not his potential inheritance, just him. And I would never hurt him intentionally." Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. A real smile, not the cold expression he usually wore. "You remind me of my wife. She stood up to me too, refused to be intimidated. Damon told me about her. He said I would have liked her." "She would have liked you too." Vincent's smile faded. "She wanted Damon to have a different life, a better one. I couldn't give her that while she was alive. Maybe I can give it to him now." "He's trying to build something good," Shyra said softly. "We both are, we just need time." "Time is the one thing I can give you." Vincent moved toward the door. "But remember, in my world, threats don't always announce themselves. Stay alert. Trust your instincts. And if anything feels wrong, you call me immediately." He left as abruptly as he'd arrived, leaving Shyra shaken. The conversation had been almost fatherly, but the underlying threat was clear. Vincent protected his son above all else. If Shyra became a liability rather than an asset, that protection would turn into something much darker. 4 months into their venture, Bloom launched its first collection online. They'd poured everything into it: Shyra's designs, Damon's business acumen, all their savings. The first week was agonizing. They watched the website analytics obsessively, hopping for orders. "Nothing," Shyra said on day 3, deflated. "Maybe we were wrong, maybe people don't want." "Wait," Damon refreshed the page. "We have an order, no, 2 orders, 3. By the end of the first week, they'd sold 6 pieces. By the end of the month, 20. It wasn't enough to quit their day jobs, but it was proof that people responded to Shyra's vision. Real strangers with no connection to the Russo name were buying her designs. "We're doing it," Shyra whispered, staring at the order confirmations. "We're actually doing it." Damon pulled her into his arms, spinning her around the cramped apartment. I told you we could build something real." But success brought new challenges. As Bloom grew, so did the demands. Shyra needed better equipment, more fabric, help with production. Damine wanted to quit working for his father entirely and focus on Bloom full-time. "Not yet," Vincent said when Damon asked for full release from family duties. "You've made progress, but the year isn't over. Finish what you started." The pressure mounted. Damon split his time between helping Bloom and handling minor tasks for his father, nothing violent, but still connections to the world he wanted to leave. Shyra worked 18-hour days, designing and sewing and managing the growing customer base. They were exhausted but happy, until the night everything changed. Shyra was closing her flower cart later than usual because she'd been working on a custom order. The street was nearly empty. She sensed them before she saw them, 3 men emerging from a van, moving with purpose. "Shyra," one called out, "we need you to come with us." Recognition hit her like ice water. Volkov's men. "Vincent," said I. "I'm protected," Shyra said, backing toward the nearest storefront. "Things change," the man said, pulling out a gun, not pointing it at her, just showing it. "Dmitri wants to talk, that's all." Shyra's phone was in her pocket, if she could just. The second man moved faster than she expected, grabbing her arm. She fought, screaming, but the street was empty and no one came. They were dragging her toward the van when a car screeched around the corner. Black sedan, Vincent's men. But no, Damon burst out before the car fully stopped. "Let her go," he shouted. "Stay back, Russo boy," one of the men warned, now pointing his gun at Damon. "This doesn't concern you." "Everything about her concerns me." Damon's voice was steady, but Shyra could see his fear. "You take her and you declare war with my father. Is that really what Volkov wants?" The men hesitated. They hadn't expected Damon to be here, hadn't planned for this complication. In that moment of uncertainty, Shyra acted. She stomped hard on her captor's foot, twisted away, and ran toward Damon. Gunshots cracked the air. Shyra felt Damon grab her, felt him shove her behind a parked car. More shots. She heard him grunt, saw him stumble. Blood bloomed on his shoulder. "No, no, no," Shyra pressed her hands against the wound. "Damon, stay with me." "I'm okay," he gasped, but he wasn't. The bullet had gone through his shoulder and blood poured between Shyra's fingers. Just call my father." But Shyra hesitated. Calling Vincent meant war, meant more violence, more death. The Volkovs would retaliate and the cycle would never end. More people would die because of her, because of them. "We need a hospital," she said instead. "No," Damon gripped her wrist with his good hand. "If we go to a hospital, they'll report it. Police will get involved. My father will find out anyway, and then—" "Then what? You die quietly to avoid a gang war." Shyra's voice cracked. She could hear the Volkov men retreating, probably calling for backup. They had minutes at best. "I'm not letting you die, Damon. I don't care what it costs." She made a decision. Not the hospital. Not Vincent. Her friend Rosa had a brother who'd been an army medic, now ran a small clinic for people who couldn't afford hospitals. It was closer, and he'd treat Damon without questions. Shyra helped Damon to the car. Vincent's men had fled when the shooting started, afraid of police. She drove with shaking hands, Damon pressing his jacket against his wound. "You're crazy," he muttered, pale and sweating. "Crazy and brave," and he winced. "I love you so much." "Save your strength," Shyra commanded, but her voice broke. "You can tell me you love me after you're patched up." Rosa's brother Carlos met them at the clinic's back entrance. One look at the bullet wound and his expression hardened, but he asked no questions. While he worked on Damon, Shyra paced the small room, her hands still stained with his blood. "He'll be okay," Carlos said finally, cleaning his instruments. "The bullet went clean through. No major damage. He needs rest and antibiotics, but he'll heal." Relief made Shyra's knees weak. She sank into a chair, tears finally coming. Damon reached for her hand with his good arm. "You saved me again," he said softly. "Seems to be your specialty." "This is my fault," Shyra couldn't stop crying. If I'd never called your father that day, if I just walked away. Then I'd be dead, Damon interrupted. On that street months ago. My head cracked open on concrete. Every moment I've had since then, every moment with you, is because you didn't walk away. But now you're hurt because of me. I'm alive because of you. There's a difference. Carlos cleared his throat. You can't stay here. Word will get out. And that bullet wound, people will ask questions. Shyra knew he was right. But where could they go? Damon's apartment would be watched. Her place too. And Vincent would be searching for his son the moment he realized something was wrong. My friend has a cabin, Carlos offered reluctantly. 2 hours north, remote. No one would think to look there. It was a risk, but what choice did they have? Shyra helped Damon to the car and they drove into the night, leaving behind the city and all its violence. In the cabin, small, rustic, cold, Shyra made Damon comfortable on the couch, built a fire, found blankets. You should call your father, she said quietly. He'll be worried. He'll send an army. Damon's eyes were heavy with pain medication. He'll kill the Volkovs, start a war. Is that what you want? I want you safe. Then we stay here, just for tonight. Figure things out in the morning. He caught her hand. Shyra, I need to tell you something. When those guns went off, all I could think was that I couldn't let them hurt you, even if it meant. Don't, Shyra pressed her fingers to his lips. Don't talk about dying. You're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. But even as she said it, she knew their time was running out. Vincent would find them. The Volkovs would retaliate, and they were caught in the middle of a war they'd never wanted to fight. That night Shyra kept watch while Damon slept fitfully. She thought about the first time she'd seen him, collapsed on the street, vulnerable and human. She'd saved him then without thinking, without knowing the consequences. Now she'd saved him again, and the price kept getting higher. Her phone had been buzzing for hours. Vincent's number, Marcus, unknown numbers that were probably more of Vincent's people. She turned off the sound but watched the screen light up over and over. They were hunting for Damon, and soon they'd figure out where to look. At dawn, Damon woke to find Shyra sitting by the window, her phone in her hands. What are you doing? He asked, struggling to sit up. Something I should have done hours ago. Shyra took a deep breath and dialed Vincent's number. He answered on the first ring. Where is my son? He's safe, he's with me. And before you send your army, you need to listen. You have exactly 30 seconds before I trace this call in. The Volkovs shot him, Shyra interrupted. Last night. They tried to take me and Damon got in the way. He's been treated, he'll heal, but if you start a war over this, more people will get hurt. Maybe even Damon next time. Silence, then where are you? Somewhere safe, and we're staying here until you promise me something. You're making demands now. Vincent's voice was dangerously quiet. I'm asking for your son's life. Shyra's voice shook but held firm. End this. Not with violence, with negotiation. Make peace with the Volkovs. Show them that hurting me or Damon isn't worth the cost. Because if this keeps escalating, eventually someone will succeed in killing him, and I won't let that happen. More silence. When Vincent spoke again, his tone had changed. You're protecting my son from me. I'm protecting him from this life, from the violence that follows your family everywhere. Isn't that what you wanted? For him to have something different? Damon had struggled over to Shyra, pressing close so he could hear. Vincent's sigh came through the phone, heavy with years of burden. Give me 24 hours, Vincent finally said. I'll handle the Volkovs. But then you both come home and we have a conversation about the future. A real conversation. Can you do that? Yes, Shyra agreed. After she hung up, Damon pulled her into his arms, careful of his injured shoulder. You just negotiated with my father. Do you have any idea how rare that is? I was terrified the entire time. You didn't sound it. You sounded like someone who knew exactly what she wanted. He kissed her forehead. My mother would have been proud. They stayed in the cabin for the full 24 hours. Vincent was true to his word. By the time they returned to the city, news had spread that the Russos and Volkovs had reached an understanding. The details were vague, but the message was clear. Damine and Shyra were off limits, permanently. The meeting with Vincent happened in his office, the same place where Damine had asked for freedom months ago. But this time, Shyra was there too, sitting beside Damine as an equal. "You put my son in danger," Vincent said, but there was no real anger in his voice. "You could have called me immediately. Instead, you made decisions that could have gotten him killed." "I made decisions to save his life," Shyra countered. "Calling you would have started a war. More people would have died, including possibly Damine in the crossfire." Vincent studied her. "You're right, which is why I'm not angry, I'm impressed." He turned to Damine. "You have 8 months left on our agreement, but I'm changing the terms." "What do you mean?" Damine asked warily. "I mean you're out, effective immediately. No more family business, no more expectations of succession. You and Shyra can build your fashion company without any interference from me. You're free." Damine stared at his father in shock. "Why, what changed?" "She did," Vincent gestured to Shyra. "She protected you in ways my entire organization couldn't. She put your life above everything, even above her own safety. That's the kind of loyalty I've spent my whole life trying to buy, and she gave it freely. I'd be a fool not to recognize its value." Tears burned Shyra's eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Freedom comes with conditions." Vincent's expression hardened. "You'll always be my son, Damine, always be a target. I can't change that, but I can give you distance. I'll publicly announce your separation from the business. You'll still have my protection, but at arm's length, enough that my enemies think twice before touching you." "And Shyra?" Damine asked. "She's family now, whether she likes it or not." Vincent actually smiled slightly. "Anyone who saves my son twice earns that right." Over the next 6 months, everything changed. Bloom exploded in popularity, partially because of Shyra's talent, partially because word spread about the designer who'd stood up to the Mafia for love. They couldn't escape the story entirely, but they shaped it into something positive, a narrative of courage and independence. Damine threw himself into the business, proving he could succeed without his father's shadow. They hired staff, found a studio space, landed their first major boutique contract. Vincent kept his distance but sent resources quietly, a loan with reasonable terms, connections to legitimate fabric suppliers, nothing that could be traced back to him directly. "He's still protecting us," Shyra said one day, reviewing their mysteriously good fortune. "That's what fathers do," Damine replied, "even when they promise not to." A year after the shooting, Bloom opened its first physical store. Small, in a trendy neighborhood, but it was theirs. Vincent showed up to the opening unannounced, wearing a regular suit instead of his usual armor of intimidation. "You did it," he said, looking around at the racks of Shyra's designs. "Built something real." "We did," Damine corrected, "together." Vincent nodded, then did something Shyra never expected. He hugged his son. A real embrace, not the stiff formality she'd witnessed before. When he pulled back, his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Your mother would be proud," Vincent said quietly. That night, after the guests left and they locked the store, Shyra and Damine stood in their empty shop, surrounded by everything they'd built. "I still can't believe this is real," Shyra said. "A year ago I was just selling flowers." "A year ago you saved my life and changed everything." Damine pulled her close. "I never asked you properly. In all the chaos and danger and building this dream, I never asked the most important question." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Shyra's breath caught. "I don't have my father's money anymore," Damine said, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. "I can't offer you the kind of luxury he would have approved of, but I can offer you everything I am, everything we've built together. Shyra, will you marry me?" Shyra thought about that day on the street when she'd made the split-second decision to help a stranger. How that one choice had led to this moment, to love, to freedom, to a life she'd never imagined possible. "Yes," she said, laughing through tears. "Yes, absolutely yes." When they told Vincent about the engagement, he insisted on one thing: "Let me pay for the wedding, not as the Mafia boss, but as a father who loves his son." The wedding was small, intimate, nothing like the lavish affair Vincent would have thrown in his prime, but it was perfect. Shyra wore a dress she designed herself, with flowers embroidered into the fabric, a tribute to where their story began. Damon cried when he saw her walking down the aisle. Vincent gave a speech at the reception that surprised everyone. "I've lived a violent life," he said, "made choices I'm not proud of, but my son taught me something important, that real strength isn't about power or fear. It's about choosing love even when it's dangerous, even when it costs you everything." Shyra showed him that, and together they showed me. 2 years later, Bloom had 3 locations and an online presence that shipped worldwide. Shyra's designs were featured in major fashion magazines. Damon had proven himself as a legitimate businessman, and Vincent had quietly begun legitimizing his own operations, inspired by his son's example. They never forgot where they started. Shyra kept her original flower cart in their studio as a reminder. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, she'd sketch new designs while Damon arranged flowers in vases around their home. "Do you ever regret it?" Damon asked one night. "That phone call, getting involved with my family." Shyra thought about everything they'd survived, the threats, the violence, the fear. But she also thought about the love they'd found, the dreams they'd built, the life they'd created together. "Not for a second," she said. "You. Not even a fraction of a second." He kissed her. "You saved my life that day, but really we saved each other." From his penthouse across the city, Vincent watched the lights in his son's apartment. He thought about his wife, about the life she'd wanted for Damon. Maybe he'd finally given it to him. Maybe it wasn't too late for redemption, even for someone like him. His phone rang, business never truly stopped. But for once, Vincent let it go to voicemail. Some things were more important than power. His son had taught him that. The flower girl had taught him that. And maybe, just maybe, there was hope for all of them after all. The end. If you enjoyed this story of love, courage, and redemption, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought. Would you have had the courage to help a stranger like Shyra did? Share this video with someone who believes in the power of kindness to change lives. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes one small act of courage can change everything.